Is the console war over? Well, kind of. Let's talk about it. So Phil Spencer, the guy in charge of Xbox, recently did an interview on the XCast show on the Kinda Funny Games YouTube channel. There will be a link to that in the description down below, where he went into depth about the fallout from the recent Redfall release and the state of Xbox as a gaming platform. It was a fantastic watch, and I recommend everyone to give it a listen. But he said something that is particularly of note, and I will be quoting here. And this was from, I believe, right after the ad break. No, it was in the quick hit questions chapter on that video, so around the 37-minute mark. We are not in the business of out-consoling Sony or out-consoling Nintendo. There isn't really a great solution or win for us. And then in a little bit, he comes up with, quote-unquote, we lost the worst console generation to lose in the Xbox One generation, when everybody built their digital library of games. Those two quotes are key to understanding the current direction, trends, and the future of the video game industry. Let's get into it. The Xbox One, PS4, and Nintendo Switch era were pivotal, because that's when we saw a ton more investment, not only by developers and publishers, but also by consumers in building up and fleshing out these catalogs of digital game releases. Consumers expect to be able to keep those games going into the next generation, and that their entire library won't be wiped out. It's a feeling very akin to the PC space, with stores like Steam. Just because I upgrade my rig or get a new computer, it doesn't mean all my games just disappear. No, I expect them to run even better now, and we are seeing that mindset be adopted by the console player base little by little. Because once you have that catalog of digital games, it's now a sunk cost for you, where you will be harder to convince moving platform because you already have a ton of investment in these games and in those platforms. Phil Spencer talked about this as well, but it's not like previous generations of consoles where each new generation was essentially a new start. No, people have their libraries of games and don't want to abandon them. So Sony and Nintendo coming out so ahead last generation has created a large chunk of players now more entrenched in PlayStation and Nintendo than ever before. Even with a bunch of great game releases, it would be hard to win those people over. One of the reasons why it's so hard to get PC players to go play console games, they already have a bunch of games on their catalogs on PC. Why would they want to? Now, I think having a swath of great games wouldn't freaking hurt either, but I get where he's coming from with that logic, because the modern state of the games industry is fundamentally and irrevocably different from previous eras. It's not just about power. The Switch proves that. It's about who can gather as many people into their platform and then develop that feeling of sunk cost where it's extremely difficult to pull people away. You see each platform now have their subscription services. Nintendo, with Switch Online and even the expansion pass giving access to a bunch of older Nintendo games as an incentive. PlayStation has PS Plus, and has been doubling down on that front. Xbox used to really emphasize gold, but largely nowadays puts greater emphasis on Games Pass, and that's going to be the key direction shift in the industry moving forward. Each console fulfills a specific niche in the gaming sphere, and instead of focusing on competing with one another directly, trying to siphon off players with better and better games, it's these services and the accoutrements surrounding them that will be the focal point going forward alongside the games. What do I mean by accoutrement? Well, Xbox isn't just a console. They port the games to PC now, and double dip in that way. Normally consoles sell at a loss, at least historically speaking, and the idea is that you get people invested in your platform to then sell them a bunch of games down the line where you recoup that cost, and that loss, and then make profit off of even more game purchases or subscription services. That was the idea, that was the formula. But now Xbox doesn't just have to rely on selling at a loss up front to get people to play their games. They have PC, and while Steam is going to take their cut, remember, they didn't move to Steam initially. They tried to push the Microsoft Store, but it being pretty, dog crap, just created friction, and they bit the bullet and put their games on Steam instead, or at least as well. I would not be surprised if they are investing more into the Microsoft Store to try and overhaul it to be more user-friendly, so they can eventually just move over their wholesale and not have to cut Valve checks anymore. I'm pretty sure they already kind of do that with the PC version of Game Pass. But this way, they can double dip into the console side of things of the gaming industry, while also selling to PC players. It's a smart play in my opinion. But it also needs really good games to accompany that, and from all that I've heard, Redfall ain't that. They got the studios, They've announced a ton of games, we just need to wait and see on that front. But then we get the real heavy hitter for Xbox, that being the Game Pass. Now let's finally talk about this. A subscription service that gives you access to a giant catalog of games you can play. It's available for both their consoles and on PC, and it's clear to me that is where they really see blood in the water, becoming essentially the Netflix of games when Netflix first rose to popularity. They've also been dipping their toe into cloud gaming, and we'll see where that goes. But Sony fulfills that traditional console role in a lot of ways. They still have their subscription services, don't doubt that, but they rely on the strength of their first-party games and the investment they got from the PS4 era to retain players and to grow, and gain more with a bunch of easily advertisable and great games. Nintendo really has their own niche, and kind of always have had their own niche. If I just say Nintendo game, you kind of got a general feel for what I'm talking about, yeah? Despite the fact that term is extremely vague when I could be talking about Mario Maker or Tears of the Kingdom or Xenoblade or Fire Emblem. But Nintendo has developed this subconscious definition people associate with their platform and first-party games while also really benefiting from the flexibility of the Switch. Being docked or non-docked may be trivial to some, but it's imperative to others, and that flexibility is a major selling point to people who prefer playing games on the go or on the dock. Nintendo doesn't need to have the most powerful console when theirs is largely the cheapest, while offering fun games, a plethora of older Nintendo games to play, and the ability to play docked or undocked. They also have that gold coin system where you buy more games for them, you accrue gold coins, and you can then spend those gold coins on DLC or games. But again, it's a bunch of little things that tie together to create this feeling of sunk cost. Each of the big three have their own niche to appeal to different people, and to then keep you. While, sure, there will always be some competition between who has the best games and the best catalog, I agree with Phil Spencer here. There's now really a war, and I would go a step further. Was he even a console war winner? Like, yeah, he did admit that Xbox lost the previous console generation, but Xbox retooled, focused up, as going in a different direction now. You can look at the sales figures and console sales figures if you want, and that may work for like Sony and Nintendo, but Xbox is moving away from a business model whose success can be defined by those variables. Look, absolutely clearly the PS5 and Switch are more popular than the Xbox Series consoles, but the notion of the console war was always a bit of a wild ride for me to follow, because more often than not, you saw people debate against their best interests and double down on the notion and rhetoric of treating these giant corporations and boxes as quote-unquote sports teams that require your faithful support despite the fact that they are inherently a service. They are trying to sell you a product, and if that product is not worth your investment, you should take your investment elsewhere. That is a smart consumer practice that will only benefit you. Don't just play or support something purely out of brand loyalty. Do what's best for you and what will make you the happiest. Maybe your friends play on a particular platform. That has value to you. That's fine, I get that. Or you already have all of your games on one platform. Again, that is an inherent value to you, the consumer. Just because you want to support PlayStation or Xbox is only a mindset, however, that could have negative consequences for you. Just do your research, find out what the best deal is that appeals to you the most. Maybe the Games Pass is a service that is exactly what you need. Or maybe you just prefer PlayStation games, or you prefer Nintendo games and or the flexibility of the Switch. Just do your research and be smart consumers, and don't get caught up in the hysteria surrounding treating these companies, corporations, and these plastic boxes as sports teams, because it doesn't benefit you approaching this from that mindset. Treat them as services, vying to get your support and investment, and go with the best deal for you. So I'm going to call the video there for the day. Thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. And hit the bell icon to be notified when I upload and stream in the future. Stay safe, everybody. Have a great day. Go play some video games if you can. And as always, I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody.